Anyway, you want to hear about another game that could maybe also be what's the opposite of a miracle? A tragedy? An incredible tragedy. I don't know if we don't have to go that far. On my notes, it just says Multiversus Eulogy. I didn't talk about Multiversus when it relaunched. I was going to, and then I forgot about it because it didn't leave enough of a memory in my brain to go, oh yeah, I should talk about Multiversus on the podcast. So, I'm sorry if I offend my girlfriend who loves, well, see, the problem is even Kat got frustrated with that game. That game is like tailor-made for her. You're telling me a game has Bugs Bunny and Harley Quinn in it? What? This is so awesome. But even she was like, I feel like the whole relaunch of that game has been a bit of a, I'll call it a debacle. We'll say debacle. For her, the biggest problem was like they made a completely unnecessary engine upgrade to Unreal 5. I don't know why they did that. The original was fine. I don't know what the purpose of Unreal 5 was for. Maybe there was some good reason, but not enough to justify it, I think, to most players. Because what it resulted in is, wow, this took a really long ass time to come out because they basically remade the game they'd already spent like 2 years making. Right? Like, okay. And it's just now more demand. There is no real, maybe if I looked at old footage, I would be able to see how much, it's so much better now, but from a casual perspective, there's no appreciable difference between the original version of the game, the beta, I guess it is, what it was the whole time, and the relaunch, the actual release. So she had to stop playing it because it literally just like couldn't run in a stable state on her laptop. It just couldn't. It was just too demanding, which is great for a game that's meant to be like a casual free-to-play thing. That your game is like too demanding to run for people with lower end specs. Awesome. I was never entirely sold on Multiversus. I played the original beta when it came out, and I played a little bit of it with her online, and it didn't really like captivate me. I'm not a huge platform fighter guy in the first place. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't really grab me in like a gameplay or a presentation way. I was also just very kind of turned off by it on a conceptual level. I think my first reaction to hearing about it was the word consumerism. And it reminded me of like a Funko Pop store. And it just kind of felt weird and icky, you know? Warner Brothers is like, they really want you to know how much shit they own. They want you to know how much stuff they own. They smashed all that into Ready Player One. They smashed all that into Space Jam 2. It's just, look at all this stuff we own. Isn't that crazy? Don't you guys like the Warner Brothers brand? Don't you like it as much as Disney? Without realizing that like all the stuff they own is way too disparate and random for people to have like a connection to the whole of. Like when people grow up on Disney, it's like everyone watches the same movies. No one says like, oh yeah, I grew up on Warner Brothers. When they say that, they mean like Looney Tunes or something like that. They don't mean like a Clockwork Orange, you know, just some random stuff, some random film that they own. No one says that. Stop trying to act like you have this mass cultural presence. Did you know Warner Brothers has more debt than Disney has money? That's frightening. That's frightening that it's even possible. Having a little bit of debt is actually really good for you. Having a little bit of debt is really, really good. Oh yeah, Multiversus, right. I remember finding the original game, like, thinking it felt a little weird, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. And then I played the re-release, this version, the real version of the game, I guess. And thinking it was even weirder. I think I said something along the lines of, what is it? There is no polite way for me to describe the physics of this game. It was so strange feeling that I had to go to training mode and like really pay close attention to it. Like, I would just jump. I'm like, why? Okay, what is weird about this? So there's all these weird things about the physics that makes the game feel kind of bad. So number one, as I learned later, this isn't really a physics thing, but it factors in. The game has like a fucking 30 frame input buffer, which means that you can make an input and then 30 seconds later it'll come out, which is like super weird feeling. It is very weird feeling, and it has to be shorter than that, right? It has to be shorter than that because inputs like slop over each other, especially in like the heat of a game. So you end up with these weird situations where you're like, wait, did I do that? What? Okay, second of all, jumping and aerial stuff is really whack feeling. So here's the thing. Here's what I discovered. Jumping has this weird momentum to it. It has this weird acceleration where you press the jump button and there's like a second where it's almost like your character is trying to like unglue their feet from the floor, and they're like trying to get off the ground, like to get exit velocity, and then they jump up and they shoot up really fast, and then they stop. It's like they hit a ceiling. It's you can't see me. I'm like raising my hand and lowering it really fast. It's super weird feeling. It's like I'm on the ground and then I'm in the air. For the second thing, every time, here's what's so weird. I don't know whose decision this was, but every time you do an aerial attack, it like cuts your momentum to like 20%. It's super weird. Like, you do an maybe it was to make it easier to combo or something like that, but every time you do an aerial, your momentum just drops. You just slow down. And it makes the game feel like, people mention the game feels a lot slower. And I think that's like one of these little details. Like, every time, because it's a platform fighter, right? Platforming, you're jumping a lot. The game is meant to be like a lot of the game, like 60% of the game at least, is going on in the air. And aerial combat doesn't feel good. Like there's like a flow that happens, right? When you understand the game's physics and how you I don't know, like when you play Smash Brothers, maybe, everyone compares this game to Smash for obvious reasons. But like, really, like, take a look at the physics in that game. Like, things just kind of feel right. And one thing that I never thought I would have to say that I have to give Smash credit for, because it seems so basic, is, yeah, like, most moves retain your momentum in the air. So it feels like you can actually, like, when you do like a short hop in Smash, you don't have to be some pro to do like a short hop neutral air for like forward, forward moving hop and do like your neutral air or forward or something like that. And your momentum stays like carries out, like you're actually able to fling yourself at your opponent, and that's like fun. Like, that feels good. doing that and trying to do that in this game is like, I'm jumping and now I'm on the ground. And weird. No land canceling, which makes a lot of things also, like aerials feel like, especially doing aerials low to the ground, feels super, super strange. Because you'll still be doing the aerial while you're like touching the ground and your character's just sort of like sliding there. You're just sort of hovering there. Really weird. Let's see. What else does it have going against it? The monetization is like somewhat nauseating. I was like, okay, well, that's what kind of game it is, I guess. They monetized the fuck out of this thing, dude. The fuck out of it. I wasn't a big fan of the, what do they call them? Dimensions or realms or something like that. It's like the main single player content. You've got a little map of different points, and each point is like a battle or something like that. And the game, you just kind of like do battles and then go to the next one, and then you play a very boring mini game sometimes. And it was just like, ooh, I just wasn't feeling it. I was just not feeling it. It didn't have something. I don't know what it lacked, but just something about the gameplay did not excite me. I didn't even really want to go online because of that. So I stayed like purely, so I really didn't feel like dealing with online play. I also don't like the idea of playing a fighting game and having to rely on another person on my team. One day I'm going to make a video on Dissidia, and there's going to be a section devoted to how awful an online team-based fighting game it is as an idea. When I get to talking about Dissidia NT. One day I'm going to make that video. Yeah, what's funny about it is that it's a game that, I don't know, it felt like it really tried to force excitement, like force interest. Like, oh, look at how much stuff we own, oh, look at all these characters, and look at that, look at this. And there were people who were genuinely excited for it, Katrina. But most of the discussion that I saw online of the game was not people going, yeah, that game looks really cool. Or even, oh, it looks really bad. It was just people going, do you think it'll be successful? do you think it'll be good? Like, I don't know. This is not even good, just successful because of the whole free to play thing. It's most of the discussion that I read was like, people are, do you think it's going to be like a good business model or something? People were not going, oh, I really want to play that character. Oh, I can't wait to play this character. Can't wait to play with my friends. No one was doing that. And I don't know if that was a failure of the marketing or the concept or what.